Well, hello and welcome to the Wine and Wisdom Show. Thank you for being here. If you are returning, thank you so much for coming back. I truly love it when I get to see returning people with their comments and, either live while we're here or afterwards. But if you're here for the first time, thank you very much for coming along. It's truly wonderful to have you. This show, even though it's called the Wine and Wisdom Show, it's actually about connection. And what I know about connection, and I know certainly our guest tonight will probably talk a little bit about that, is that connection is one of the key components for us to have a great life. And I think over the last 15 months, we have learned that more than ever that connecting with other humans who can bring a smile to our faces, some warmth to our hearts, and some wisdom to our brains is one of the most precious gifts we can get from other humans. So this show is about connecting. So I'm connecting by having a little glass of wine with you. Hello, if you are there right now. And the idea is also that, due to the fact that I've been lucky enough to surround myself with really courageous and resilient self-leaders who are making a difference across the globe in their big ways and small ways, I wanted this to be a platform that I could bring them to you. And I'm telling you right now that our guest tonight is one of those incredible humans who is making a monstrous difference to people across the world. And I'm going to share her with you tonight when we get to that. But very first of all, before that, what I would really like to do is to acknowledge the traditional custodians and elders spread across the many lands that we are all located on tonight from all our different places. And I'm personally coming to you from the lands of the Birrabirragal people who are on the Balmain Peninsula. And I do pay my respects to these traditional owners who have nurtured and protected this wonderful country that we all get to work, live and play in. So thank you. So tonight I have Dr. Jenny Brockis coming on to join us and share her incredible amount of wisdom. And she has just written an amazing book called A Thriving Mind. We're going to talk a little bit about that, but she's going to give us really practical strategies on how to create a thriving life because of our thriving minds. And I'm just going to bring her up and stop talking because she's going to do a far better job than me in explaining it all. Hello, Jenny. Welcome to the show.
Hello, Heidi. Thank you so much.
It's wonderful to have you here. And for those who are watching, I first got to she doesn't know this, I actually got to see her speak years ago in Brisbane and have followed her ever since because oh my gosh, she comes from a medicine background, which she's going to tell you all about, but has also found this amazing way to apply it to, just like the doofers like me in the world who need a little bit more real word explanations, not the real medical way. And that means that people like myself, and I'm sure everybody who gets to share in all the incredible work she does, gets to apply these strategies to their life because they make sense and they're realistic and they actually work. So thank you, Jenny, for all the work you are doing to not only help individuals live a thriving life, but of course, all the work you're doing in workplaces to allow for leaders to create spaces and environments and teams where people can actually work to their fullest potential. Now, that was a bit clunky, I think. What I would like to do is ask you to introduce yourself better and tell us all who you are, what you do, and all the positivity you are sprinkling across our globe. Please, go ahead.
Okay, thanks, Heidi. And I didn't know you'd been stalking me for a while.
I have, definitely.
In those days when I could travel interstate and go to far off places like Brisbane, how wonderful was that?
I know. Yeah, that was a joy, wasn't
it?
Oh,
God, it was a joy. But I've become, I'm now accepting of my fate, that I'm likely to remain in Western Australia probably for the duration of my natural life, because the government doesn't want us to leave at any time soon. So,
nope. You just stay over there and, stay away from the rest of us, apparently.
The portcullis is down. So yes, I am a medical practitioner by training. I'm no longer in clinical practice. I left that long time ago. I'm also what they call a lifestyle medicine physician, which sounds a bit sort of pompous, but hopefully it's not. Lifestyle medicine is all about a holistic approach to well-being, in that it's very different from the traditional medical model. Because when I was working as a GP, people would come and see me when I was sick. I would take a history and examination and try to sort out what was wrong with them. And often it felt as if I was putting on a Band-Aid and saying, take 2 pills, call me in the morning and it will be right. And I felt there was something missing, because I felt that I was really not getting to the nitty-gritty of what had led them to become unwell in the first place. And circumstances led me to leave general practice, and to, after a period of wandering in the wilderness for many years, thinking, what the heck am I going to do now? Decided to reinvent what I did, but using my medical skills. So I decided that I had to learn how to speak in public, which for an introvert is quite a challenge, but I managed to do it. And and decided that I also wanted to spend my time helping people in the workplace, because many of my clients, when I was a GP, were coming to me stressed to the eyeballs, worried sick, dealing with all sorts of crap, basically. And a lot of it was emanating from this place we call work. And I'm thinking, what is going on? It's terrible. So I wanted to move into workplace well-being to help people to understand, that it is possible to actually enjoy what you do, feel fulfilled, and look forward to going to work every day. What a notion is that?
Exactly.
That's what I do.
Yeah, well, you do it very well. And let me just say that from you going from, I suppose, as a GP with just a small room, really, where one person is coming in. And I mean, that the skill of being able to extract what you need to know from them to be able to diagnose is very different to standing on a stage with hundreds of people, and as an introvert, and being able to know exactly what the right message is that they need to know right then and there. So, I mean, what a massive change that is. I mean, and from someone who's been in that audience, I have experience of the way you do it so warmly and genuinely and generously. So, and of course, with science behind you, so that it's not just, this is what I think is right. It's actually looking at the data and the research and the stats, which of course is absolutely crucial, especially in this health and well-being space, where a lot of leaders and organizations still think it's this kind of woo-woo thing that they perhaps have to tick off. But in fact, I think you and I, of course, would agree, we're speaking to the converted, but this is the key to have a thriving workplace. This is the key to have thriving teams who perform at their very best. And if organizations want profit and they want to attract and retain the very best people within their industry, this is the key. Would that be right?
Couldn't have put it better myself. Absolutely, yes. Yeah. And I think things are moving in the right direction. It's not that long ago where it was all about profit and it was all about success. It's about how quickly you can climb up that corporate ladder. And I think gradually the penny has dropped that if you want to get the most out of your staff, and how often do people have this untapped potential because they haven't looked into who they've already got there. There's so much opportunity there. And I think the pandemic has actually helped business leaders to now have a better appreciation that health and well-being is more than fruit bowls in the staff kitchen, offering discounted gym memberships, and organising a fun run once a year. You know, I think there's room for improvement, and I think they're starting to get that it's not just about the physical health. We've really got to get much better at mental well-being and, of course, cognitive health as well. You know, how well we use this thing up here.
Absolutely. And I mean, your work around mental well-being, about brain fitness, about psychological safety is, you know, you're truly doing such a great work. And can I just say that for everybody watching either now or later, that Jenny and I are both enjoying a wine because it is all about balance. Isn't that right, Jenny?
Totally. And it wouldn't be balanced if only one of us was drinking.
Correct. That's why I actually insisted that Jenny leave the platform and go and pour herself a glass of wine. Just so you know, I'm going to call myself out on that one. But we'd love to know what you're having tonight at home. Are you having a red, a white, a bubbles, or a gin and tonic? What would it be? Let us know. Jenny, you talked about this moment when you left GP land. What I'd love to know is, it's up to you whether you talk about how you got to become a GP in the very first place. Like, was that some kind of really, one of those big moments in life you went, right, this is what I have to do? Or was it something that you wanted from a little girl and it just kind of had evolved and that's where you ended up? Like, how did you get there?
Into general practice? That's a very good question, because when I left school, I had absolutely no idea what I wanted to do. My careers advisor, who was actually my history teacher, told me that I should be studying agriculture, and the only place that offered a degree in agriculture at that time in the UK was in Aberystwyth in Wales. And I'm thinking, it's cold, it's wet, it's muddy. Why on earth would I go there?
Jenny, do you mind if I interrupt your story? Because, like, on reflection now, do you think he got it wrong or did you get it wrong? Like, seriously, agriculture and that's like quite bizarre.
I know. I think it was because my dad was a vet and they thought that maybe I could be affiliated. I don't know what they were thinking, but it was totally not me. So I actually decided that I wanted to go into nursing, because I didn't know what else to do. But I've always been somebody who loves working with people to help them in some way. And I remember my dad saying, my daughter can do better than that. My dad was a bit authoritarian. And he said, well, if you're going to do nursing, you have to do a degree. So I actually signed up. It was a 5-year degree in nursing, health visiting, and you got a sociology degree as well. It was a unique course. And it was run between London and Southampton, which was great, except I discovered that I really didn't like sociology very much. And I didn't want to be a health visitor. And when I was nursing, which was at St Thomas's in London, fabulous place, and I had a nurse's flat which overlooked the Houses of Parliament and Big Ben. Eat your heart out. Except when you're on night duty, that wretched bell going boing, 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 would drive me mad. I moved out of there into a flat share in Brixton with some medical students, and I would sort of fly in and out on my bicycle in my red cape and all this sort of stuff. And I looked at these people thinking, they don't seem to work terribly hard, these medical students. They seem to be out partying all night long. Why am I doing what I'm doing? I could be having a much better time. So I actually looked at what it would take to get into medical school. And to my amazement, when I applied, I was accepted by Bristol Uni, and I had to go off and do horrible things like physics and chemistry for a year because I hadn't done the right A-levels, and then went into that. But I think I knew then that I'd never wanted to work in a hospital situation. It was always going to be general practice for me because I loved the idea of community. And so the bonus was that having qualified and started my GP training, my husband was then headhunted by an Australian company. And so we arrived in Perth, and I thought, oh, okay, well, I better get on with it, finish my training, and was able to open up my own general practice, something that would never have happened in the UK. I was able to move into a custom built new practice, build it up from scratch with the most wonderful staff, some associate doctors who were just brilliant, and of course the most marvelous clients to look after. So that was the dream, and I was able to fulfill it, and that is absolutely fantastic.
It is. Wow, that's a great story. Thank you for sharing it. And it's so interesting how life just takes us on these different tangents at times with it doesn't have to. I mean, I like when I talk to kids, it's like you don't have to have this big, compelling, I need to do this, I want to do this, because along the way, things just evolve, don't they? And we change our idea on it, and we get moved in various ways that send us down a different path. And I think it's a very, I love hearing people's backstories for that reason, on how the hell did you get to here? Like, that's really interesting. So thank you for sharing it.
My
Jenny,
pleasure.
I have read your amazing book called Brain Fit. I absolutely loved that book. It was just so much gold. But you have written a new book, and I'm just going to bring it up here, A Thriving Mind.
Yeah,
I'm going to get
Thriving Mind.
Yeah, A Thriving Mind. And we're going to talk about that throughout this show. But I'd love for you to start with telling us about, what do you think are the biggest obstacles that people have with living a thriving life? What are they?
I think there are a number of things going on. And these things were going on well before the pandemic hit us. And I think one of the things was, we had bought into the idea of success could only be achieved by working ridiculously long hours, foregoing everything else, at the sacrifice of, to sacrifice at the altar of work, forgetting that we're human, forgetting that, there are other things that are actually important to our lives as well. And I think that's the big thing. I think there's a huge level of expectation that we put on ourselves, and then sometimes other people put on us as well. So we're always trying to meet expectations, which can sometimes be totally unrealistic and stress us too much. I think we forget that we need to make sure that we are fit and well and healthy, and you can't do that when your daily schedule is jam-packed full of everything else to do with everybody else except yourself. We've got to remind ourselves that we're human. We're not machine, we're human. We have basic physiological and psychological needs. And if we can remember to include those, life feels so much better. I think that's the biggest obstacle. We've just got to give ourselves permission and get started on it.
And I know, certainly when I'm doing work that I do, like, I'm seeing that a lot of people don't have choice around many things in their workplace, right? So in their minds, it's very difficult for them to put those things in place that we both would talk about, because there are all these other things they can't control, and they don't have any choice in them happening. And I think that feeling of being out of control and not having control of what you really want to do is one of these big things that holds us all back. Because I suppose, when we are Angelina Jolie and we've got, babysitters and nutritionists and hairstylists and everybody to outsource everything else. Wine pourers, absolutely. Gosh, where do you get those?
I'd like to know.
When you find it, please send through. When you get to have all that, then you can just focus on what's important, but not all of us have that, right? And therefore that's really hard to prioritize. And I know you talk a lot about how you find those moments where you can prioritize yourself. They don't have to be those big things that everyone, thinks that you've got to do meditation every day, yoga every day, strength training, get your food from 10 kilometers from paddock to plate. Like, there's all these people out there that tell us we've got to do all of that if we really want to have a thriving life. But that's not your belief, is it?
yada, 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 yada. No, it's not. I think we just have to get real. I mean, in an ideal world, maybe, but really, I think it's about realizing what's most important to us, what juices us up. Why do we do what we do? Is it just because we need the paycheck, or is it actually because we believe in the work that we're contributing to? I think one of my biggest frustrations is when I get asked to work with an organization where the leadership has no buy-in to what I've been asked to talk to the employees about. And I'm thinking you're wasting everybody's time, and you're actually making it worse. Because if you're sharing ideas, well, you could do this, you could try that, but you know that they're not going to be supported. They're not going to be given the resources in which to even give it a try. It's not helpful to anybody. So I think we have to start by recognizing we need buy-in from the leaders. And unless they've got the insight as to why it matters so much to their business and their bottom line, then we've got somewhere to move from and start to get everybody thriving and feeling better about what they do, why they do, and how they do it.
Yeah. And of course, that's that whole idea of, it's got to be top down, bottom up as well, that for it to work properly. And the thing is, top down, we don't have a lot of control over, but as individuals, we can do things, right?
Absolutely.
So we can harness what you talk about, our natural biology, to improve our mood, our energy, and our resilience. Talk to me about that. How do we harness that natural biology that we all do have control over, to ensure that our mood is better, our mindset's better, our energy levels are better?
I think it's about tapping into what's particularly relevant to you, because it's not a one size fits all. And this is about recognizing what are your non-negotiables first, because yours will be different from mine and from everybody else's. So it's about writing down, I think, a list of what are those things that make me feel good, what puts a smile on my face, what makes me, or what actually is the opposite, what drains me, what makes me feel terrible. I mean, you might not be able to get rid of the terrible stuff, but if you can boost up the stuff that makes you feel better and do it more often, then you've got a chance to actually sort of make a change. And like you suggested before, it's not about sort of being a vegan or running a triathlon every weekend or something like that. It's about putting in place those small things that we can do on a daily basis that just make us feel a bit better in ourselves. So I don't know what you do, Heidi, but for me, my morning routine is pretty much the same every morning. I like to get up at the same time. I like to have a hot drink before I do anything else. Sometimes it's tea, sometimes it's lemon and hot water, depends. But then the dog always gets a walk. And it's that going outside, being around in a parkland space that sets me up for my day. If I can get that done first, then I know whatever else happens in my day, I'm going to be managing it far better. And it's as simple as that. It doesn't have to be anything humongous. And I'm all for meditation and things like that, if they work for you. And I think one of the issues I have with mindfulness meditation, and I teach mindfulness meditation, don't get me wrong, and I love it when I need it and when I can share it with others, but it's not for everybody. And so it's about recognizing, well, if it works for you, that's fine. If it doesn't do it for you, do something else, find some music or whatever it is. So I think we just have to realize it's like where medicine's moving into personalized medicine. We need to move into personalized self-care. Just to say, well, is it homemade bread, or is it, having a nice cup of coffee? I don't know. Just depends.
And I'd love to hear from everyone who's watching either now or later, what do you do that is one of those things that helps your mood, that helps your energy levels, that helps you cope with the day? I'd love you to put it in the comments so we can all actually learn from each other. I mean, I know certainly I've got a really anal retentive morning routine, one would say. I actually have anal retentive things all day long that hold me together physically and mentally. But
right.
you know what?
Yeah.
I acknowledge what I need to do now. And it's not because some, guru or experts told me that I need to fit all these things in, but I know now that these are the things that are important to me. As you just said, it's got to be personalized. It's got to be realistic for what I can actually fit into my life. It's got to be realistic to what my other responsibilities are personally and professionally, and what I like and dislike, because for a long time, the thought of meditation, oh my God, like that was, to me, it was actually a great opportunity to multitask, that I could tick off meditation, but I could actually sit there and do my to-do list in my mind. It was like, this is brilliant multitasking. So really a complete failure at meditation. Yeah. I framed it that I was a good multitasker. Anyway. What are you doing in the comments?
I think the thing that we overlook is the need to have fun. Fun and play is so overlooked because we're grown-ups, right? And grown-ups don't do that sort of thing. Rubbish. Of course they do. Why shouldn't we? Yeah. And it was actually about this time last year, I was having a chat with somebody, and she said, Jenny, what are you doing for fun at the moment? And I'm thinking, fun? We're in the middle of a global pandemic. Business.
I've lost all my business. Fun. How does that compute? And I was busy sort of trying to put everything online and doing this and running around like a headless chook. And I thought, you know what? I'm not doing anything for fun. I thought, that's terrible. So I went home and I jumped on a computer and I was going, what are the fun things you can do in Perth? When no one's allowed in or out.
And after a little while, I found something and I thought, aha, this is perfect. So I signed up, and I had to sign up my husband as well. And then I shared with him the good news when he came in that night. And I said, darling, guess what? We're signed up to do swing dance classes. I can't tell you, the look on his face said it all about his level of enthusiasm and happiness that we were going to be doing these classes. But we have been doing them ever since then. Every week we go. Oh my God. And we go to the social dances as well. There's a fantastic place in Perth. It's 1940s, and it's just the most amazing vibe. And you go in there and there's everybody doing all this swing dancing, and you think, oh yeah, bring it on. And bands are playing. It's just brilliant. And you come out exhausted, dripping, but in such a good frame of mind. It's wonderful. And it's something that we can do together. And so that for me was the perfect thing. It was fun. Yeah. It involved exercise. And I could do it with my nearest and dearest, my darling husband.
Oh, I know. So Jenny, do you think you're going to get him to come on for a cameo appearance right now and like give us a little demo? What are the options? What are the chances of him saying yes to that?
I think a big fat zero.
Bugger.
I know. Sorry.
He might be finding his other point of joy like Mandy is by sitting down and watching Netflix right now. And that's preferable. But thank you, Mandy. Yes, that is perfect to do as well. If that's, everyone's got their different things, right? And that's okay. Yeah.
And that's perfectly okay. Yeah. Mm.
And Jenny, in your book, you talked about these kind of counterproductive short-term solutions that we often use. Or do you want to explain a little bit more about what that means and how they impact us?
Some of the self-soothing things that we do to get us by.
Do you mean like buttery Chardonnays? Is that what you mean?
Yeah, I'm actually a Riesling girl myself. But,
Yeah, they did say about the other ones that actually mean something, not those ones.
They did say that the amount of alcohol consumed in the first 3 months of the pandemic was equivalent to what was normally consumed over 9 months, and that women consumed the vast majority of that.
Yes. You know,
So that's
one of my clients is part of their business is distributing to the independent alcohol places that are not Woolies kind of BWS type.
Yeah.
And they were telling me in June last year that every single week they were having was like the week before Christmas.
Wow.
Seriously? Every single week was their Christmas week. Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, about those other counterproductive ones that other people do, yes.
Yeah. And the other one that I think has been a big issue for quite a few people is the fact that we've been buying our clothes at least 2 sizes too small. And not only that, they're shrinking in the wash, because I don't know about you, but these unwanted COVID kilos snuck on uninvited. I'm thinking, ooh.
They did come uninvited.
And can I share? I have always been fairly slim. I have never had an issue with weight until last year. And all of a sudden I was thinking, gosh, I'm a bit don't fit in, and getting the trousers done up around the waist belt was getting really quite challenging some days. And then the day came when I actually stood on the scales. I was like, oh! And
yeah.
So 5 months to lose the 5 kilos of COVID weight.
They're naughty kilos, those extra ones.
Naughty kilos. I know what it was as well. Corn chips and connoisseur ice cream.
Yeah,
but
yummy.
It gets us past things in the short term, but of course it's when it becomes an ingrained habit that it's not so helpful. Yeah. And we're there. I think one of the other issues that I've seen in terms of short-term strategies is, especially with people working from home, is they're working more hours because they want to show that they're diligent, they're putting in the time, they want to show their boss or their supervisor or whoever that they are getting on with stuff. Because I hear terrible stories of people being watched, with these apps and things to see people have actually got their computers on. And I think, what are we doing to ourselves? Talk about breach of trust.
Yeah.
But the incidence of burnout from people working from home is continuing to rise, because the average amount of extra time people are putting in is nearly 2 hours a day. I mean, it's just not sustainable. No. Okay, we've all had those times where there's a big project to be delivered or a tender's got to be written up, and we do it. But when it starts to become this long-term strategy, I've just got to demonstrate, I need to prove that I'm worthy of having this job. That's not healthy at all. Not at all.
Not at all. No. And that's the big thing. I mean, people have been in fear, haven't they, of their job. So they're willing to do anything to make sure that they can keep them. And of course, that has just created this whole new version of what is acceptable as a workload. And we are seeing, and we're going to continue to see the ripple effects of that, which is really concerning.
Yes,
so,
indeed.
With that in mind, Jenny, what is the one thing, in your opinion, that you believe we should all be doing right now to live a thriving life?
In a word, less. We should be doing less. Less is great.
Yeah,
I've been practicing it recently because I'm the first to admit I'm a recovering workaholic. I love my work, so I justify why I do what I do because I love it so much, and I don't mind spending more time on it. But it's counterproductive, and it's harmful to me, my health, and my relationships. And it makes me very boring as well, because all I'm thinking about or talking about is my work. No, that has to stop. So less is more. And to your piece that I think you put out on LinkedIn today or yesterday about just letting go and pressing pause for that 5-10 minutes makes such a difference. Choosing not to do the overtime, choosing not to spend all weekend playing catch up because you think you ought to. No, it's too much. It's not human to be operating in that way. So less is so much more. And it's interesting that by actually we bringing ourselves back into that less space, we get more done in a shorter period of time with lower, less stress levels, and we feel good about it.
Yeah.
Go for it.
And fewer mistakes. And fewer mistakes as well.
And fewer mistakes. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. I love that. And I know, many people feel like they're not in that situation where they can do less because they're in fear. They're in fear.
Yes.
And that's a terrible place to be. There's no doubt about that. But I think we all have the opportunity, even though we think we don't, to do less. We can say no. Because I always think like when we consciously say yes to yes, I'll be on that committee, or I'll be part of the PMC, or yes, I'm going to upskill with this, or I'm going to say yes to that committee meeting, or whatever it might be. We're actually unconsciously saying no to the things that are really important to us, right? We're unconsciously saying no to having the time to cook our dinner properly rather than getting takeaway, or to take the dog for a walk after work, or to play, kick a ball down the park on the weekends with the kids, or do something that fills our mind with really great things that give us purpose in this world. So that choice decision all the time.
I think it's about challenging that fear.
Yeah.
Because sometimes the fear is something that we've created for ourselves because we're fearful that others will judge us or tell us that we're slacking or whatever.
Yeah.
But unless we test that and challenge it, we're not going to know. Because I shall never forget one particular woman who came to see me when I was working as a GP, who was basically doing the work of two people. She'd been doing it for 18 months. She hadn't had any time off in that whole time frame. She was working every evening. She was working every weekend. Her friends had given up on her. They stopped asking her out because they knew she would say no. She was miserable. She was lonely. She was on the verge of complete burnout. And I said, well, have you told your boss how you feel? Oh, I couldn't possibly do that. Why not? Oh, because he'll think less of me, because he might sack me. And I'm thinking, well, do you want to continue like this until you fall over in a heap and you have to take time off?
Yeah.
Or he does fire you because you make a silly mistake or something? And I think, it can be very difficult to have that conversation, but unless we are willing to challenge what has become our status quo, we're not going to bring about any change. And I think if you get the response where the person that you're asking seems to lack any insight or any empathy, I know jobs are scarce, but sometimes it's an indication that maybe you're not in the right role and the right job. And while it's not always possible to shift, there will be a time when you can move. And I think it's about having that knowledge that when the time is right, you will be going, because it's just not worth it. Overwork and stuff is killing us. It's literally killing us, and we need to wake businesses up to the fact that having people drop dead from a heart attack or a stroke or committing suicide is not the way that people need to be managed in the workplace.
Not at all. And I think we can all of us will agree, like our emerging talent that is coming through, they're not putting up with that at all. And
no, they're not.
If organizations want to attract the best talent, they have to do it differently, because this emerging talent will not put up with that shit at all.
No. And I think that's important, because they are the generation who will say, you want me to do what? You have to be kidding me.
Yeah.
And it just will help it to sort of change. It's difficult, because when we're used to things operating in a certain mode, that's the way we do things around here, then everybody is expected to drop in and conform. But I think that time is long gone. And the forward-thinking organizations, the ones that I love to hear about, are where people say, you know what? I love working for X, Y, or Z because, and they tell you about all the great things that their job provides them. And it's the security, it's the respect, it's feeling acknowledged for their effort, it's being called out when they do something great for the team or something like that, and just being treated as a human being.
Yeah, absolutely.
Comes down to that. But with the responsibility as well. I think it's, some business leaders I've spoken to say, well, if I give everything that our staff want, they're going to be a bunch of sort of narcissistic people who aren't sort of willing to step up to the challenge. And I'm thinking, no, you're missing the point. People love a challenge, but support them in the challenge so they know that if they fail, it's about, well, okay, tell me what didn't work, what could be done differently, what did you learn, et cetera, et cetera. So it's a completely different approach.
It sure is. And Jenny, I mean, you talked about what, that we need to do less, like what to take away for us to live a thriving life, by doing less. What is your one recommendation of what people should put in to live a thriving life? What should, on the flip side of that, I suppose? Flip
side of I think it's greater self-awareness, because I think we're often running around on autopilot, busy looking at everything else that we're meant to be doing, and we sometimes forget to just stop and look inwards to see what's the impact of what I'm doing on myself and other people around me. So I think the self-awareness piece.
Yeah.
If we spend just a little bit of time just to be more mindful about how we come across to other people, minding our language, then it can have a huge positive impact on our relationships with others. And I think the one thing that we can all do better at is wondering how we can strengthen our interpersonal relationships with each other with mutual respect and trust. This is starting points.
As that connection piece, right? That connecting with others. And I mean, I was reading just recently that a third of Australians don't consider themselves to be within a group of friends, that they don't have a group of friends to connect with. And I mean, that's really,
it's shocking. It is shocking. Yeah. And we know that loneliness is a growing problem. And unless we are prepared to take steps to counteract that, it's only going to get worse, because it seems that the more connected we are via our technology, the less connected we are with each other. And it seems such a paradox, but it seems to be the way it's playing out. So I think when I heard recently this week, one of our local universities, as I think of next year, you will no longer be required to attend a university lecture at that particular university. It's all going to be online. I'm thinking, what are we doing to ourselves? I mean, for one thing, the quality of learning is going to be changed, and not all for the good. And the whole thing about going to a university is the people that you meet, the others on your course. And it's not the same interaction when you're never physically with them, when you're just online and looking at a screen. I'm thinking, they're doing it as a cost-cutting measure. And I think we're cutting more than money here. We're cutting our ability to socially interact at a deeper level with each other. And I think it's a real problem.
It truly is. And it breaks my heart to hear that. Yeah. And, you know, there's a study by Psychology Week saying that 1 in 4 Australians feel lonely. And, you know, it's, again, coming back to that, you know, and you are now putting students not being able to have the connection within their degrees. You've got people at work working from home, so they're not having the interaction with their colleagues. It just keeps feeding this problem where, you know, this connection piece is such an important foundation for us to live that thriving life. I would imagine. I think. I mean, I know it is personally for me. I mean, I know you know the data and the science behind it. So, is that the truth?
Well, it is the truth, and it's now recognised from the research that loneliness is as bad for us as if we were smoking 15 cigarettes a day. and we know how bad smoking is for us.
Yeah.
But loneliness shortens our lives because we are more, it reduces the strength of our immune system. We're more likely to get sick physically. We're more likely to have mental mood disorders such as anxiety or depression. And it's interesting, the more lonely we feel, the more we inwardly withdraw from the rest of society. So it's like the lonelier we become, the more we push the rest of the world away, which compounds the problem as well. So there are many GPs now in the UK, and I think they're starting to do it a little bit here, where they'll prescribe a social prescription because to help people with anxiety or depression or loneliness, they will be prescribed a community project where they can go along and volunteer a couple of hours a week or something like that. Basically, to get them out of the house, to get them into a group of people. They don't know these people, and they're just there to do their own thing. But it works so beautifully because when you're out and about and you're doing something, especially when you're doing something for somebody else, because these projects tend to be about community gardens or something along those lines. As soon as you're doing something for somebody else, it lifts your mood and it puts you in a more positive space. And that then has that ripple effect on everybody else around you. And listening to the stories of people who've actually taken part in this, it's really great to hear because it changes their lives. It puts them back on track to know that, they've got some purpose and meaning. They can put some joy back into what they're doing. And it's good. It's good, but we need more of it.
I love that so much. It's incredible. I'd like to be a GP to give me a social project to go and be a part of.
Well, next time you go in, say, excuse me, can you do a social prescription while I'm here?
I definitely need that. Well, I have to, I'm happy to admit that, but being in COVID for the last year and I've always worked from home, but of course not being able to go to conference, speaking at conferences like yourself and going into workplaces to do training and development, that I found that very, very tough. I felt very unconnected to the world. And so I think I've done it now for 4 weeks in a row, once a week, a beautiful company, my friends Nina and Nikki from Beaumont People, they've given me a desk at their place, and I go in and I catch the ferry and I put my heels on and my lippy on and I go in and I've got my desk and I do my work and I have interactions when I go and make my cup of tea and I have lunch and I see people I know on the ferry going in, and I cannot tell you that connection with humans that I'm getting that one day a week is enough for me now. It's just beautiful. It's made such a difference, Jenny. Such a difference.
I can believe it. I can believe it. My husband bought me a bicycle not that long ago, and we've started cycling. We're getting very proactive, dancing and cycling. And I'd heard about cycling around the Swan River here, and it was a great thing to do, but I'd never done it. But now I have, and I've done it quite a few times, and it's exactly that same thing. You're out and about and you feel part of the community and the greater society, because all of a sudden you see the city and it's alive and there are people in it and they're doing their own thing. So there are groups of in the park sort of doing Tai Chi and yoga and all that sort of stuff, and other people walking their dogs and people on the river and their kayaks and stuff. And you just think, this is what it's all about. This is what, this is what feeds. This is life. This is life. This is what helps people thrive. Yeah,
it sure does. So my last question for tonight, Jenny, is I'd love to know this. I mean, we've had a few sips of our wine, but it is the wine and wisdom show. So I would like to know what is the greatest piece of wisdom that has been given to you, and what impact has it made on your life?
It was a doctor. He was an obstetrician, and I had just finished my 6 months rotation working for him and some of the others. And he knew I was intending to become a GP.
Yes.
And I remember him having the conversation saying, Jenny, what will bring people to your door won't be what you know. they want you to be credible, of course, but they know you're a doctor, because otherwise you wouldn't have your nameplate up with the little
the number
your name. But what they will come for is that sense that they are being cared for. And it's not just you, it's the people on the front desk, and it's the other staff in your business, because you are the eyes and ears and everything. And that stayed with me forever. And I thought, you're so right. I don't care how much you know, but I do care if you care for me. And I know from personal experience, if I've been to see a doctor or a specialist or something like that, I want to be treated as a human. I want to be spoken as an individual, face to face, on equal terms. And it just makes the difference. So I've always held that. And it reminds me of the Maya Angelou quote, which is, people will forget what you said or did, but they never, ever forget how you made them feel.
Correct.
And that, I think that to me goes with what Dr. Gage said to me all those years ago.
Absolutely. I think everyone probably would agree with that feeling that someone cares for you, whether you are just looking for something little in, health or work or friendship or partnership or whatever it is, or if it's, those big moments in life, to know that there is somebody there who cares. Oh my gosh, changes everything.
Absolutely. Yep.
Jenny, thank you so much for being on the call tonight. For everyone who's listening now or later, what I'm going to do straight afterwards is I'm going to put in a URL of Jenny's that you will be able to go onto one of her online courses, because she's locked in Western Australia, like she's not getting out for a while. So I know you all want to get access to her amazing brain, and you can do that because she has incredible courses online. So I will put that in the comments for you to click on, including again her social media links, so you can follow her, because she really does gift us all with this incredible, wise, science fact, but care from the heart wisdom. And I think we this is what we need more in the world. So I will definitely be doing that. So thank you to everybody who's listening in. Thank you to Jenny for your time and your wisdom tonight. Thank you for sharing a little tipple with me midweek. I know you've broken a bit of your rule this week by doing that midweek, and I appreciate that. But for everybody, looking forward to seeing you again on our next Wine and Wisdom show. Have a lovely night. Have a wonderful week. And finally, last but not least, get a look at this book, unreal book. And maybe Booktopia now. I'm not sure. I'm just trying to get off comments so that I can stop having this up here and you can see the book. Right now I've got it. Get a copy of this book. It will blow your mind, because it's all about having a thriving mind. So I will put a link to that so you can get access to that. But thank you, Jenny. Thank you, everybody else. Good night to you all, and see you again soon.
Good night. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.